You're such an asshole.
Hey, AssholeConsulting.com. We have, which is going to be a relatively short answer to a question that took me a long time to research, because I had to figure out what Agenda 21 was. So let me get, and then, coincidentally, very odd, I got a completely separate request about Agenda 30, which is basically just Agenda 21 version 2.0. And I said, okay, let's just combine it all together as a research. I got to charge everybody. So it's going to be going all over the place. This is from Janet is Wigtow. She has a channel. I'd like to shout out to her, so if you want to follow her channel. She has nothing up there. But to give her a little bit of publicity because she did pay. I would like to know your opinion on a site I found that was rather scary. If you look at the population amounts from 2016 compared to 2025, could this be part of Agenda 21? So this website is Deagel, DEAGEL.com. And it's kind of a military website, civilian military. And it's a profile of the United States. And if you look at it, the population from today goes from 328 million down to 54 million in 2025. And she is concerned, like, hey, is this Agenda 21? I'm like, okay, I got to look up Agenda 21. So let's start there. I'll get back to her question. Then we're going to address the other guy's question about Agenda 30. Then I could go to the gym for the second time in a day, because January and February is Aaron makes himself look sexy months. All right, Agenda 21, what is it? Let me pull up the Wikipedia and give you the official thing. It's basically the UN's plan for sustainability on everything in the world, or sustainable progress. Let's go. So it's all bullshit. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased or an ideologue. It is. It's bullshit. It's the UN. Agenda 21. Okay, this is a 350-page document. I actually went a little bit into it and scanned it and skimmed it a little bit. But the topic, just in general, Agenda 21 is a non-binding action plan of the United Nations with regard to sustainable development. It is the product of the Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in 1992. So this was back when the old captain was getting brainwashed. It is an action agenda for the UN and other multilateral organizations and individual governments around the world that can be executed at local, national, or global levels. The 21 in agenda refers to the 21st century, although it is also the area code for Greater Rio de Janeiro, blah, blah, blah. It has been affirmed and had a few modifications at subsequent UN conferences. So, that is basically what it is, and it covers 4 main areas listed here: social and economic dimensions, conservation and management of resources for development, strengthening the role of major groups, and they list that as children, youth, women, NGOs, local authorities, business and industry, and workers, and strengthening the role of indigenous peoples, their communities, and farmers. And Section 4, means of implementation, includes science, technology, transfer, education, international institutions, and financial mechanisms. In short, when you look, it's a 350-page document, and you can go through it. It's incredibly boring, it's incredibly verbose, but it's basically, how can every aspect in the world, on a global level, be taken care of in terms of having progress that is also sustainable and environmental. It reaches beyond environment when we start talking about women and children and peace. You go through the document, it is like, this isn't just about, you know, green energy. This is a global approach to how to govern societies, how governments should interact with one another. There's some good stuff, and I read about free trade. I was like, wow, okay, somebody got in there with a brain. But this is just, on the face of it, it looks like, how should we, as all the nations in the world, if we can agree on some things on this platform, on this outline, we can really advance society, really advance the globe, without causing damage to the environment. And oh, by the way, we're going to have peace, equality, the elimination, they're like, the elimination of this one of the things, the elimination of poverty in all of its forms everywhere. And I mean, really idealistic, clueless, dumb shit. Not that the elimination of poverty or disease would be a bad thing. That's always going to be the goal. But to make them think that we're going to do it, and this will be by the 21st century, it will be perfect, it will be Star Trek. So, anyway, that's what it is. It's kind of interesting when you read through it a little bit. You can see how things have changed since 1992. They had like nukes, nuclear waste, and the atmosphere, because the ozone layers before your time, and deforestation was mentioned. And I remember, they totally propagated us. They fear-mongered us back in those days, where it's like, that was the big thing, deforestation. This global warming wasn't a thing. Shit. 20 years before that, it was global cooling. Who knew 20 years after that it'd be global warming? And now today it's climate change. So you could see how this is basically a dump all and changeable document or goal or mission that just suits whatever the cause du jour is of the left. I'm sure they've had, they've had these, like it's called Rio +5. That meant in 1997 they met at Rio, and Los Angeles +10. So every 5 years the UN meets and has like their conference on Agenda 21. They're updating it to include the latest pet projects of leftists and retards and socialists everywhere. What else? So you can read through it if you want, but I'm going to save you the time. Now, I'll be getting to my client's question because it's a simpler question, but to answer to you guys, what the fuck is Agenda 21? The debate boils down to the two camps where you have the leftist globalists where they think it's necessary, it's well-intended, but deep down inside, if you look at the UN, you look at Brussels, you look at any of these international organizations, these are the globe's elites. The globe, and it's not me, I'm the elites. Ooh, that's a conspiracy. Oh, you're Alex Jones. Look up these fucking people. Look them up. They're all Mark Daytons. They're all Nancy Pelosi's. They're all George Bush's. And I don't mean this in a conspiratorial way. They're all a bunch of rich, little spoiled fucking brats. That's all they are, and they don't want to work real jobs. I'm going to help out. I'm going to help the whales and the snails and the snakes, and I'm going to go against war. These idiots, like, we're against child slavery. Really? Good for you. Like what a brave position you took there. And so they're bored little rich kids. It's the world's boredest little rich kids who are also tyrants, because there's nothing worse in society and nothing more tyrannical than a do-gooder who doesn't give a flying shit about whether you want it or not, or let alone it's your nation's sovereignty. Anyway, the ulterior motive and incentive for these leftist globalists is they're bored. I don't think they're really truly, some of them are, but I don't think most of them are aiming for a global single government. They'll take over the world. But where they're coming from, honestly, is they're just the world's most spoiled little brats, and they're bored. And instead of just getting drunk and having a good time and going having sex, like the Arab sheiks, the Arab and the United Arab Emirates, like those guys, and leaving everybody the F alone, their egos have to be masturbated. So that's what they want to do good, just do good. Where it's more ego masturbation and something to do, that ultimately comes first before whether or not, would it work? Does it work? Who gives a shit? We just want to feel good about ourselves. Democrat Party and black communities, perfect example. The rightist view, the rightists, or at least the non-left, the non-globalists, view this as conspiratorial. As a it's like the Bilderberg group, and they're going to try and do this is how they're going to take it, but they're going to subject us under one world government, and it has the potential, like if everyone subscribed to it and followed it, yeah, that would allow for that. But I just think it's a bunch of goody two shoes Democrats and leftists that went. So in reality, I don't believe it's a conspiracy. I think it's just the public nature of leftists. This is what they do. How is what if you read through Agenda 21? It's like, yeah, this is social justice. What is the Democrat platform? This is a socialist platform in the United Kingdom, in the United States, and Australia. It's all about environmentalism. It's all about vagina. It's all about let's eliminate poverty. It's the same frickin' slop that has been served up since the goddamn 60s. It's just codified. It's in a PDF file, and it was voted on by this international organization that ultimately doesn't have a lot of sovereignty. So, this brings up the issue of efficacy. How effective has it been? It's not been effective at all. China, India, all these countries, oh yeah, we'll sign this document, fuck you. They're polluting, no one's following this. And thankfully, there's a couple entities following it. But even they're just like, it's non-binding. And frankly, everyone's cheating. No one's doing it. And then if you're really worried about it, look, didn't Trump just pull us out of the Paris global climate change accords? What else? There's some there's some local and state, regional, depending on where we are in the globe, governments, municipalities and such that have explicitly said, we will not have anything to do with Agenda 21. It's against our Constitution or our bylaws or whatever. We cut funding to the UN. The UN has no teeth. It doesn't. And ultimately, everyone, it's the typical leftist, yes, say what I say and be Harvey Weinstein, but then don't do what I said. That's all this is. It's just a big jerk-off fest. It's a circle jerk for so the global's rich, spoiled little brats. So they can feel good like they're doing something. There are some pansies in France and California, local governments and some regional governments that have implemented. We're going to put it in. But ultimately, let me ask you this question. Go read through it if you want. You don't have to. Whatever you suspect is there, it's there. How is it any different than what's being slowly implemented anyway by the left in everybody's respective countries? You don't need the UN to implement this. It's already happening, banning bags over at Minneapolis, all these diversity and women initiatives and all this crap. It's already happening at by your own leftist party. This is it's basically if you take the Democrats or the Socialists or the Labor Party, depending on what country you're in, you look at their platform compared to Agenda 21, it's the same freaking thing. But, unlike the UN, your Democrat, Socialist, Labor Party, wherever you are, they can get elected and they do have control over the sovereignty and the laws of your nation if they get elected. So I wouldn't worry about the UN. Honestly, your local elementary school teacher who's been brought up on leftist indoctrinated feminist slop, who's like, a little Jimmy, he might be transgender at 10, and then like files something, and it's like, you should go and die, I think he got rid of it. And then, oh, by the way, we're not going to teach about freedom or Western civilization or Greek philosophy, we're just going to teach leftist indoctrinated stuff. That is more of a threat to you people around the world right now than Agenda 21 and the faggots over at the United Nations, right? So it's not conspiratorial, it's not a secret. And the real threat is coming from behind. Your neighbors, your daughters, your friends, your co-workers. It's okay if you're a Democrat. That's all right if you're a socialist. Okay, we'll go see the game. That's all right. He's my friend. He's my friend. What's happening to America? All right. So, now that we know what Agenda 21 is, I can address my first client's question. And that is... one of the things in Agenda 21 is population control. Now, if you really cared about that, you'd go look at Africa. You'd be going and spreading a ton of birth control over there if you're really worried about overpopulation. Because the irony of the left, we need to worry about global population, yet we need more immigrants to increase our population to pay for our Social Security and free shit. Bring them in. Breed more. France and Sweden, I think they even pay people to have kids. It's like, wait, I thought you wanted, what is it? Figure it the fuck out. What is, fuck it, the leftist thing. So you go to the website, Deagel, DEAGEL.com. You look up the United States country profile. And they're all worried, my client is worried, holy crap, we're going to go from 328 million today to 54 million by 2030, by 2030. 2025, got to get my years right. That's not going to happen. 2025 is 7 years from now. And what is that? That's, let's do some math. 328 minus 54 equals, divided by 7. We'd have to murder 39 million people to get to that. Now, I don't know if you think wiping out, what, roughly 80% of the population, the government would lose its tax base. That wouldn't even be able to make bullets to kill people. You wouldn't be able to make gas. And I think if 80% of the population was tried to just getting murdered all of a sudden, I think there'd be you'd fight back. It's not. I think it's got to be a typo. Honestly, the only way you could kill that many people in the next 7 years is if you put the Democrats in charge all the way, and they had their orgasmic goal of achievement, and where they could achieve a Stalinist-like state, and then they just cut off all the food. And even Stalin couldn't do it. That was what was it? Mao Zedong, but that was not that high a percent of the Chinese population. You'd have to get like Stalin quadrupled to the 4th power to achieve that. So it's not mathematically possible. It would have to be like the bubonic plague or a superbug or something. And on top of it, keep in mind the UN, the only way they could lower the population like that wouldn't be intentionally. They're not that competent. The only way that leftists can kill that many people is through starvation, by ineptitude, by implementing their socialist utopia goals, and like, oh shit, there's not enough food or electricity. Just ask Venezuela. I'm wondering, are leftists like doing this to Venezuela? Yeah. It's all right? Leftists, because they're brown people. And even though socialism has only worked in this small, like 10 million people out of 7 billion people called the Scandinavians, it only works there. Let's roll it out and make all the brown people piss poor and the Asians die off, right? Because they don't matter, because you need I'm a socialist, I'm a socialist. I hate socialists so much. They're such vermin. Such inferior people. Okay, so that is the answer to her. Now, another guy, let me get his question. Jenna's not a guy. This is a guy. Okay. He was kind enough to say, hey, you just have to just do one video. I said, okay, thank you very much. Research. Let me get his original request. Okay. Return customer here, Cappy. Wanted to know your opinion on the UN's agendas 21 and 2030. So we already talked about 21. 2030, now remember, UN Agenda 21 is not for 2021, it's for the 21st century. 2030 is, what's it going to be like at 2030? Please keep me anonymous. Let me know what the bill is. Video sponsor review. Nice. Thanks. So you look it up, and it's not as big as Agenda 21, but I did find it on the UN's website. And frankly, this is nothing more than like the Rio +5 or the Los Angeles +10 or all these updates. It's just a simple revisitation by the UN of Agenda 21, and now they have goals for 2030. That's just what it is. So there was a meeting, I don't know the details, and they came up with this. So I'll read to you what Agenda 30 is. They have 17 goals, and again, you tell me if this is any different than what your little precious elementary school teacher with their master's in English is teaching your poor kids. End poverty in all of its forms everywhere. Just like that. Oh, you mean implement capitalism? Oh, like this there. End hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, but fuck men. Oh, I didn't say that. It's ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, modern energy for all. Promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. I love that one particularly because they actually think they can do that. They think that that's under their control. Like, they never think that, well, maybe the people should do that, but that. promote economic growth, build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. How much you want to bet, like, all these people who wrote this up, not one of them has a degree in accounting or engineering or metallurgy or something that would actually help build infrastructure. This is their wish list. This is their wish list so they can masturbate to it later. See, I advocated that, but not one of them is actually going to expend a calorie of energy bringing that about, because that would require they go work real jobs in the private sector and start multi-billion-dollar corporations and employ people. Much as I dislike Elon Musk, he's probably one of the more intellectually honest types with all his taxpayer money. Build Brazil. Reduce inequality within and among countries. What if Jimmy in America has 1 penny less than Jiang in China? Do we beat the shit out of Jiang and give Jimmy that? Oh, wait, now Jimmy has more money than Jiang. What do we got to do? Make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. Take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, and maritime resources for sustainable development. A lot of these you don't even know what they're talking about. Protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation. Promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development. Provide access to justice for all and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. How many trillions would you like for that? 17, strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. It's no different than Agenda 21. It's just the latest, great, updated, and again, it is nothing but leftist masturbation. And they have, I'm going to emphasize it again, can't emphasize it, the leftists don't care if this is actually implemented. They don't. No one at the UN cares if any of those goals are achieved, most of which are impossible to achieve. They are. They only want to feel good about themselves without having to work real jobs. That's it. And if you want to worry about the real threat is the people is your local leftist party. That's the real threat, because they can get elected and implement law. It's not these U.S. twiddly twats twiddling with their twats, right? It's your teachers, it's your guidance counselors, it's your artists, it's your local politicians, it's the news media, it's the people who are pushing and advocating this in your own country. That's it. So I don't worry about Agenda 21. I don't worry about anything. I'll be dead, but as long as the lights stay on till I'm dead, that's fine by me. But, yeah, I would not be worrying about Agenda 21, because you got much more real and much more serious and much more threatening enemies in your own backyard. So, all right, that's it. I'm glad we all learned about Agenda 21. You guys got questions, the old Captain's got answers over at assholeconsulting.com. You can read some of my books, Bachelor Pad Economics, Curse of the High IQ, Worthless, and probably most germane to this video, Enjoy the Decline. Look them up. They're all on Amazon and paperback, Kindle, and audio, so you can be a lazy slob like me and you don't have to read. Toodles.